So spooky.
We were still
You're muted.
Oh, and you did such a good spooky sound.
Yay! Adam, good intro.
Welcome to the first of 2 Halloween episodes of Literarily Wasted. We'll be discussing the first half of Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. Whew, that was Chopin's Funeral March in backwards, so we have all de-aged.
In backwards.
Yep.
Nice.
It's just like backwards.
Backwards. We're all much younger now.
Yeah.
We melted like wax. Whoa, this book. Where do we start? Christy's got a recap.
I got a
for us.
recap. Now, okay.
A concise recap.
I'm going to just preface this with, I wrote a recap for this today, and it was incredibly hard to do because just try to like explain what happens in the first half of the book. It's really hard. Like I went by chapter and really tried to be thorough, and it didn't work very well. But so Adam's going to help me with this. There's a lightning rod salesman.
Weird.
Right? That's like how the book opens, which is really interesting. Important things you need to know. He gives Jim and Will a free lightning rod for some reason. And then I feel like I'll just do like people.
Yeah, just
follow people.
Yeah.
So he finds like this block of ice with the most beautiful woman in the world on it, goes inside and then disappears, and he might now be a squished dwarf in the carnival. Will and Jim are our main characters. There's a circus that comes to town. They watch it be set up very interestingly, and then some stuff happens.
Lots of stuff happens.
Their teacher has her nephew in town who is also one of the owners of the circus, who uses the carousel to change his age.
Yeah.
Yep, Robert.
Yep.
Robert. There's a
Kugel. No. What's his name?
Cougar.
That's what I said.
Spell check does not like the way his name is spelled. And he ends up getting killed on the carousel because he ages like 200 years later. So again, like this is a terrible recap, and I'm so sorry, but like it's better than me reading this awful, really long sheet.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's reanimated by the circus.
Sort of.
As a Mr. Electro.
Maybe.
Electrically.
But electrically, but also like the freaks in the tent lend their breath to him.
Yes, it's very,
to speak. It's
very unnerving.
really odd. And then at the very end, there's the weird blind dust witch
in
who
the hot air balloon
is trying to mark their house, and who Will ends up thwarting by throwing an arrow at her balloon. So again, that's where we ended off. So don't talk about anything that we didn't mention.
Yeah, not much else.
And I'm just going to assume you guys read it and can put those pieces together because it's all over the place. And I apologize. Oh, and nothing much else happened all the rest of that night.
Spoiler alert.
So,
Spoiler, way to go, Christy.
first thing we should talk about was anybody able to not read chapter 31? I really want to know.
I definitely read it.
I would like to tell everyone that Christy read chapter 31 to me out loud when we were making the book announcement video before I ever even got the book.
Yeah, so all 4 of us, that's the first introduction we had to this book was chapter 31.
So we didn't do shout outs. Let's do some
Julie
quick
didn't.
shout outs. What's up, Gene, Tammy, Gina? Oh, Gene's twice. Henry, Don, Julie, Kira, Laura, Jen Benno is here, Bobby, Jody, Brandy, Jenny, Nikki, Anthony, Jennifer, Daned, Brandy. Oh, some repeats here. Scott, it's been so long. Welcome back.
Yay!
He said I read the whole book. Bobby said I didn't. 'cause
Joe's
I followed
here.
the rules.
Jeff, Giggles Vids, Mike, Kimberly, Vicky. Didn't read this particular book, but still here anyway. That's fine.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Vicky.
So welcome to this. We have for those that read it, for those that didn't read it, this is something different, isn't it? Isn't this something different that we've read?
Something wicked.
Something wicked. I don't really know.
That's not funny, but thanks for laughing at me.
I mean, we can just start on our sort of impressions, I guess, of this.
Wait,
book.
real quick, because Christy asked, she wanted to know who didn't read it. And we have people who legit didn't read it. So Julie didn't read it.
What? Just go ahead and read it.
No, I mean just chapter 31, not like the book in general. Henry didn't, Dawn didn't, Nicole read it before she started the book.
Nice.
Jody didn't, Nikki did, another Nikki glanced but didn't fully read it. Bobby, once again, rule follower. Kira didn't, Jennifer didn't, Kent stopped before 31. Oh man, so many of y'all are great. Oh my gosh.
So I have bad news for all of you who were so good and stopped it before chapter 31. I read it to you in my recap.
It's literally one sentence. But after the chapter that came before it, it was like,
yeah.
I understand this chapter.
Yeah,
is the clearest chapter, I think, in the whole book.
Yep.
So I guess I'll start with my impressions.
Okay, yeah.
I'm enjoying this. However, I don't think that I've read a book. I've reread a book more times before finishing the book than I have with this book. I'm not listening to the audiobook, just to preface that. I'm reading it on the Kindle. Man, I appreciate his use of language. This is not a fault of the author, because I feel like he has such an immaculate grasp on the English language, and I do not, by comparison, know the language as well as he does. So he's describing things beautifully, and it's very metaphorically written. I feel like I'm watching Star Trek. It's like Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra is basically this book. And for those of you who don't get that book, that reference, this is alien species that communicates entirely through metaphor. Anyway, the people in the comments that got that, you get this.
Now I get it.
But I have a hard time like separating metaphor from what's actually happening sometimes. So I have had to go back and read sections over and over and over again. I will say that I do think that contributes to the tone of the book, which I appreciate. It feels very old-fashioned, but in that old-fashionedness so far, I am getting a sense of unease from just reading the story and just how like sort of odd it is. Like it helps make me feel odd. And I did read that one section that talked about 3 a.m. I read that around 3 a.m. and I didn't sleep much. But anyway, that's me just sort of saying my initial impressions. I'll pass it off. Who wants it?
I'll take it.
You're gonna steal some of my words because we talked about this earlier.
No, I'll keep it brief. Okay. I don't feel like I'm smart enough for this book.
Those were my words.
I said that in the same way.
We don't feel like we're smart enough for this book.
Okay.
And Talia and I both listened to it this time.
No, you are not allowed to say anything for me.
I listened to it, and I found myself accidentally getting skipped to different parts of the book and not even knowing it for periods. Anyway.
It's okay to have shared experiences.
I agree with Adam. You can tell that this man can write. There's no doubt about it. This man can write. I just don't get, like, is this going to be like a mind blow at the end where it's like, well, it's all a metaphor and it's all like, I didn't study this book. I am not an English teacher. We have so many fine, wonderful English teachers in this group, and I appreciate each and one of you. And I feel like we should probably turn it over to one of you to just lecture on what this book's actually about. But no, I agree with Adam. Like it's not scary. I don't do scary. Like it's creepy, and I can deal with the level of creep that it's putting off. But I just don't. I'm the same way. I had to re-listen, and I wasn't getting it. But I feel like hopefully it's one of those books that like once you get through it the first time, you probably enjoy it so much more the second time. Not that I'm not enjoying it, but because you're picking up what he's putting down. And I'll leave it at that and pass it to someone else.
We can do Christy and then Talia so that it doesn't feel like the same thing was said.
Well,
I got something very different than you guys did. I mean, the tone that he sets is awesome. He's so good at it. But I am loving this book. I love the way it's written. And normally I guess overly descriptive kind of can be done in a heavy way. And I don't think that this is. Scott actually mentioned in the discussion topics post that it's like he said, I love the words. It felt like a warm blanket. And I read that, that's exactly how I felt. Like, it's so comforting to read this book. And I don't know, I really, really have been enjoying it. And I love the picture that he paints. I love the sense of dread that you get at the beginning of the book. Like, something's coming, like something wicked's coming, and you feel that. And like, I loved that, like, right off the bat, like the title makes so much sense. And I love the way he uses like the smells. And I mean, I was talking about cotton candy and licorice, and I love the idea of, you know, the nostalgia that he brings and illustrates for us. And I'm really enjoying it. And I can't wait to keep reading.
Okay.
Don't steal my words.
I'm gonna push you out of the camera. Okay, I want to be very clear before I start that this is not me bad talking the book. This is not about, honestly, it's not even really about the book. It's about me as a reader. And honestly, I'm super glad that we have English teachers in this book club, because I legit think that I need some help. Like, because this book gave me strong feelings of feeling like I was back in school. Like, all of a sudden I'm in AP Lit and I'm supposed to be like analytically minded and figuring out what this book is about. And I haven't yet. So my process with this book has been, for anyone else who has struggled, and like I said, once again, this is about me as a reader and not the book, because there's literally no point in talking about whether or not Ray Bradbury is a good author. Like, are you kidding? It's Ray Bradbury. Like, that part is established. He's brilliant. But for me, I haven't read something like this, something so extremely full of metaphor and poetic hyperbole in such a long time, that I'm really, really struggling. And so I read the first quarter of the book, like the physical book, and then I switched to the audiobook, hoping that that would help me. And what happened was Lucas and I were both using the same Audible account, and he was further along than me. And what happened was, every time I had to pause it, because like my kid would ask me something, I would pause it and it would pick back up in a different place where he was reading. And it took me a really,
And vice versa.
It took me a really long time to notice.
It took me a really long time.
And I'm talking like I would jump forwards and backwards, sometimes like 10 chapters, and I still was it took me a lot longer than it should have to realize that I was not picking it up in the same place where I'd put it down. Yeah, no, he's brilliant. That's the problem, is I'm not. So for me, I just feel like this is not a metaphor. It's literally going over my head. But also it's metaphorically going over my head.
It's literally going over your head.
Literally.
It did. It is literally, and metaphorically going over my head. And I honestly, so what I did is, after I read it and after I listened to it, I had to go to friggin' sparknotes.com, you guys. And I haven't done that since high school. And it's because I want to understand. And I feel like I'm just missing so much, because I don't know. I'm just having a really, really hard time sinking into it. And I hope that these discussions literally help me so much. And so honestly, I feel like tonight is like a study guide that I need. And I'm honestly need to hear what everyone has to say about it, because that's what's going to get me through the rest of this book. Like, I legit need y'all to help me, because I feel dumb.
I think this book snuck up on me. Like, you know, when I first started reading it, I felt very much like that. And I think I even said to Christy, I was like, I don't get, this is difficult for me. The more I read it, though, I think I had to like adjust. And then, you know, Matt Scalise said it was like stepping off onto the street from a moving sidewalk. This is what it feels like sort of every time I open the book. But eventually, like, I think it's seeped in, like the tone and the sense of feeling and dread mixed with nostalgia and sort of a creepiness, like ended up like seeping in. And eventually I felt it. And I don't know like when it hit, but eventually I was like, oh, this is working. I
Like,
still can't say that I am not having a difficult time with it, because I am. This is one of those, you know, it takes, you know, you have to look at every word, which thank you, Ray Bradbury, for not, you know, for that, because normally I don't, you know, speed read, but now I have to be like, okay, this word.
That's why actually I think I need to go back and I need to actually need to reread from where I had started the audiobook, because I think I actually didn't do myself any favors by switching formats. I don't, maybe if I'd stuck with the audiobook the whole time, or if I just stuck with reading the whole time, but I actually think switching from one to the other hurt me, like mentally trying to grasp the tone.
Well, and I listened to the audiobook and I really liked it. I don't know if that made it easier for me to like not get caught up in all of the words, but like I didn't have a problem kind of at least getting the sense of what he was trying to convey.
Yeah, and that might have helped me, I think, if I had listened to the audiobook, because, you know, I left my own devices.
Yeah, and some people are saying to listen to the audiobook while reading the book. And I've heard that before for books before. Some people really, really enjoy reading books that way.
Huh.
So I have the audiobook by Christian, narrated by Christian Rummel.
Oh, is there more than one?
Yes,
Yeah,
there
there's
are
a bunch of them.
Ooh, I'd love to know all the different options. Like who
I think the Christian Rummel one's pretty solid. He's got good differentiation with character voices, and I'm down for it.
I will say, I think because I'm so focused on like trying to get the tone and like the essential plot points, that I'm also having some trouble differentiating between Jim and Will, and their relationship is kind of confusing to me.
Yeah, that's like a yin and yang.
Yeah, it's
like,
definitely
is Jim evil? Like, is this some sort of metaphor for growing up? And that's where my brain starts to decompose a little bit. And until I get the entire picture, I'm hoping there's this aha moment, and it's like, oh, I will get a passing grade on this test at the end.
It's hard for me to picture like Jim and Will as good versus evil. I think for me, it's like one is safe and closed, and the other is like open and adventurous.
Yeah,
and like
I saw Jim as chaos a little bit, and then Will is more order. And then Will's dad also was talking about black hats versus white hats, and talking about the different authors that go with those. And I thought that was a really interesting insight. But they are very different. Yeah, two sides of the same coin, but they're also they're similar, but they're so different. It's really cool to see. And they obviously grew up together.
Yeah, and they know that they sort of balance each other out. Like they, you know, we get Will's perspective a whole lot more, at least in the first half, than we do Jim's. And like, you know, Will knows what Jim is, and I'm assuming vice versa. And I guess that's why they work so well together.
Well, they also feed off of each other.
But aren't they fighting? I'm so confused.
Well, Will fights Jim to like stop him from doing things. He's literally trying to like keep him from exploring this carnival, right? Like he has to physically stop him.
Yeah, the first fight they got into in the book was when Jim was trying to, I guess, in front of Mrs. Foley's house, talk to Robert or get Robert in some way. And then the second time was when he was trying to get on the carnival to get older.
Yeah.
Oh, and someone
reading some. Go ahead.
So someone posted a comment earlier that it's carnival and not circus, and I feel like that was probably me. I probably said circus at one point. But yeah, there's no circuses in this book.
We had so many people commenting about the night circus, and it does you have to say the night circus invokes
totally ripped off the night circus.
Yeah, this book totally ripped off night circus. No, but I do wonder how. Oh gosh, what was her name? Erin Morgenstern. I wonder how this book inspired her.
She
Or did
definitely
it?
read this.
I'm sure she did, but did
Yeah,
it
y'all
inspire her?
are some really great, insightful comments.
Yeah, that's great, Dan.
But yeah, the Will and Jim, you know, having this perspective from the point of view of two boys who are very mature in their thinking, like the way that they think, and what they're like 12, about to be 13, a day apart.
12 minutes apart.
But you know, these two boys, seemingly the only like aware people of what's actually happening, even if they're not fully aware. And then there's a lot of adults wanting to be like all of a sudden experiencing like nostalgia, like Will's dad and Mrs. What's her name? The
Foley.
teacher, Mrs. Foley.
Miss Foley.
Miss Foley, you know, she went into the mirror maze and saw a younger version of herself.
Yeah.
And then you have
even the barber, you know, he
Mr.
smelled
Crissetti.
Yeah, he smelled the licorice and the cotton candy, and he was remembering old days. He's like, it's been so many years, and I've forgotten all these things. It's really interesting. But then Jim is also trying to run away from his youth by like getting on the carousel and getting older.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that too. I will say that whole part with her going into the mirror maze, the teacher, that was the first time that I actually did start to get like less focused on how I wasn't understanding things, and I actually got swept into the story and was like, ew,
Don't
ew,
go in.
get out.
The part that I really got swept in, like that was like the first time that I actually started to like sense some stakes, really, or like sense that something wicked was really here.
Don't go back in there.
Well, I
And
mean,
then-
we also got the most beautiful woman in the world that's in the ice.
Yeah, that
And-
was
Where'd she
just
go?
creepy. That was just kind of creepy.
Well, the ice melted, and what some of her hair was left, and then the lightning rod salesman is now gone.
Yeah, but the part that I was going to say like is the merry-go-round sequence that stuck with me so hard, like that, like I was like, oh, this is borderline terrifying right now. Like, and it's not just, but the whole sequence that led to like that happening, and then the boy, and then chasing him back, and then making him super old, and then reanimating him, and the chanting or the
Everything
breathing.
backwards is scary.
Oh, it was that part like shivers, and then it got capped off. Or no, not capped off, but then we had like a really like super sweet moment between Will and his dad. It was just like, well, this is really nice.
Yeah.
Which was interrupted by the blind witch in a hot air balloon, which felt odd to me, like just sort of a bizarre like action set piece in the middle of this.
Well, we'd already had some bizarre things happen. Like even at the very beginning, when the tent was silent, well, when the carnival was silently being put up, and the tent was made out of
I'm not saying that
clouds.
there never was.
Yeah.
Just like these sort of like peaks.
You know what this makes me think of is like it's on the level of kind of weird as like Miyazaki and the Studio Ghibli movies.
Mhm.
Like we've been watching those because our daughter had a birthday and she wanted a bunch of Studio Ghibli movies, and this seems like talking about it and hearing everyone's feedback.
I
I'm
could
like,
totally see this.
oh, this
as
is
like
a total
scary
Miyazaki
Studio
like
Ghibli
trippy thing.
Julie, why?
Yeah, I
Why
had
wasn't
the
even
same thought.
thinking
I
of
was like,
that?
no, Mr. Holloway.
Well, he's also so fixated on how old he is and how he kind of doesn't belong in his own life.
Yeah, Matt's hitting it too, hitting that hard point there. The burden of being a good person.
Stop with your AP English, Matt. Stop.
No,
Yeah,
keep going.
don't
We need
stop.
this.
But you were in
I
AP
know, like
English.
on
But
this
it-
part, people chime in, please help.
You know, like, and I think, and I don't know if it's more common back when this book was written, but looking back and thinking about the book starting off with a door-to-door lightning rod salesman.
Not any
Like-
normal lightning rod. There's scarabs and the hieroglyphs and all sorts
Yeah,
of
they look like
what?
some-
Oh yeah,
What?
that's
Dug out of a mummy
But
or
I
something.
loved his reason for that. Like that, what was it? That the lightning doesn't.
It's
doesn't
a global
speak our
lightning
language.
rod.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
also it's more like I got it in the sense of like you have to use the language of the gods and like all the gods to be able to control this huge power.
What I was gonna say is that like starting off with the lightning rod salesman and that sequence, door-to-door salesmen are creepy enough, but lightning rods, first of all, like, what is that a thing? Also, like door to door, but then like just setting it up that the storm is coming and like you're gonna need this lightning rod, and you can be like, oh, this lightning rod salesman's kind of full of it, but like it did a good job. Now that I'm looking back and thinking about it, like setting the stage for something wicked, coming this way.
Well, I'm talking about.
No, it's not important. Keep going.
Also, talking about how the book starts, like this book got me from the very beginning, like the first line, like October is a rare month for boys. And then the description of all the months and how they, I guess, work with a boy's life. And it was just so charming.
So that's why I agree. So I was actually I was dreading it because everyone in the book was like posting all their different opinions about whether or not they'd started, if they were struggling with it, what they were feeling, and all these things. And then I started reading it, and like the prologue, that one page immediately grabbed me, and I was like, oh, I love this. And then I started reading the first chapter, and I was like, oh, cool, freaky lightning rod. Let's get right into things. And then already by like the second chapter, I was like, I've already forgot who Jim is and who Will is. Which one's which? And then I immediately started to get lost in all of the poeticism. That's not a word. The poetic metaphor of everything. And then I just like kept trying so hard to make everything literal in my brain that I kept forgetting who everybody was and like what was happening. And it was my fault for trying to like make this into a clear line story. And it's not meant to be read that way.
Yeah.
So I have a question for the people who are smarter than me, which is most of you in this group, especially the teachers. You know, Scott, Dan, and we've got a lot of folks that are in education. What, like, if you're teaching this, when do you teach this? Like, what is the year that you would introduce this to students? Because
please don't say elementary school, because I already know what
it's like, oh, Lucas, it's in 7th grade. I'd be like, God. But seriously, I want to know because I'm
pretty sure I was smarter in middle school than I am now.
Oh, totally.
Oh, for sure.
My 5th grader's smarter than I am with his long division than I am right now. But no, I seriously want to know, like, when is the academia deem it 7th and 8th grade? Damn it.
Well, listen, I think like in a classroom setting, like this book is awesome because like, I was telling Christy earlier that like this book is difficult to read, but it's a whole lot of fun to talk about. Like whenever I would finish reading a section, I would go to Christy and first be like, all right, let me make sure I got this right. So this happened and this happened. And I sounded like a crazy person when I was describing. I was like, and then the blind witch came in a hot air balloon and painted Jim's roof. And then Will threw an arrow and it blew out.
No, it does. It sounds crazy and funny when you just describe the plot points like that.
But I see the witch as Miyazaki now. It's like I see all of this in like
what?
I see some creepy witch in a balloon and like this guy going on a carousel backwards and like decomposing. Like that's cool.
No, but I would love for like an actual like English teacher who's very like analytically minded to tell me what this book actually means, like go through it and tell me like what it really means. I feel like I need that.
I feel like that should be on the internet somewhere.
Oh, it is, but I can't do it yet. I gotta finish reading it first.
But like, I think like, as I would have loved to, if I was a good student, have read this with a classroom and like with a teacher who has
to really break it
curriculum
down.
Because like, finding the little things in here, I feel like is something that you need discussion for. Like this is a book that is made to be talked about.
So Katie Ellen actually in the discussion topics post gave us a Ray Bradbury fun fact that she likes. Apparently Ray Bradbury helped to plan the creation of Disneyland with Walt Disney. She actually included a picture in the discussion topics post. So if you're interested, go look at it. But she said, knowing this about him helped me to read the book so far. It felt like he was really working hard to create that atmosphere like they do at the parks. I wonder if anyone else would make that connection as well. apparently there's also a special tree in Disney they decorate specifically for Bradbury, which is the Halloween tree.
Oh yeah, he did write a book called Halloween Tree.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's cool.
that makes Disney World kind of creepy to me now.
Disney World has always been creepy.
But I mean,
Like a little bit.
the whole point of it is that atmosphere, like it transported to another place when you walk into Disney World. And I feel the same way about reading this book.
Yeah, this is definitely like haunted mansion section of Disney World, though.
Yeah,
Is that
I agree with.
Wait, what?
I
What'd you
haven't
say?
been to Disney World in a while.
Is
Did
the
you say
haunted
haunted?
mansion.
Haunted mansion.
Yes. But yeah, I agree with Giggles Vids. This is
That's what I need. I need to get
More
through it
than
and be like,
once.
okay, that happened. Now let me go back and really let
So-
it drive home some
Hi,
points.
Leanne.
So we're halfway through, and you know what? I mean, what are we getting out of this so far? Like thematically, clearly, like there's something going on with nostalgia and like longing for the past.
Being young
regrets.
again.
Like Will's dad has some regrets that he seems to be dwelling on. You know, he wishes that he could run again. He wish, you know, and they have that really fun scene where they climb the side of the house.
I loved that.
So nice. What are we getting out of this? What are y'all getting out of this?
I kind of to tie on to what you were kind of saying. I was getting this like loss of innocence kind of thing with Will's dad and some of the adults and like Mr. not Gravetti, Grissetti,
Cressetti?
Grissetti. You know, it's like this. They want to go back, and Will's dad wanted to go run into the night, kind of thing, but he knows he can't anymore. And so it's like, is it like a coming of age thing where like these boys, they're not going to be boys anymore because they're teetering on that. You know, they're going to be their preteen type grades or ages where they're going to start to get into more complex things and lose some of that innocence. And I think even Jim, there's some lines in there, and I'll totally do a disservice. I'm sorry, Mr. Bradbury, but you know, there's lines in there too about what is it like? It's about Jim's smile and how it's like fading or something like that. And so that's one of the things I was picking up on. Whether that's an actual thing, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think if you got it, then it's a thing. I don't know if, you know, what is art, Lucas? It is what you get out of it, I guess.
Well,
but
you
it's
also
art.
have Miss, oh gosh, what's her name? Foster, the teacher. She, you know, she goes into the mirror maze and she freaks out because she sees her younger self like drowning, and she like leaves it saying, "We have to help her. She's lost. She's drowned."
And she's talking about herself, and it's scary and it's depressing.
Yeah.
Also, did anybody else get like super, super sad with that scene with Jim and his mom? And she's like, you know, at least tell me bye before you leave. And like that whole discussion of how like he's gonna leave her too. And that whole thing made me sad.
Yeah, there's definitely some sad moments, like with the children and the parents and the adults in general, like kind of and this, so we have this carnival that
You're
is
like
here
all depressed.
now that we haven't seen too many effects so far of what the carnival is having on the, but you know, we had Mr. Cressetti smelling cotton candy and licorice, and that like created a certain mindset for him.
And speaking of him, Will said that he's dead, and Will has an incredible insight right now. He, you know, told the teacher not to go into the mirror maze, and he doesn't want anyone to go to the carnival. And I feel like, I bet Will's right, and I think that this is really interesting that he has these insights, and I kind of feel like we're going to keep seeing them, and that they're going to continue to be right.
He does seem to be quite insightful.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, as far as losing innocence, like these boys on the surface are experiencing some strange stuff. Just, you know, that'll age anybody. Just seeing what you're seeing, being like, what is this? What is happening? But I think it's interesting that we're looking at this. I think adults interpreting this stuff is different than how kids would interpret it. Kids have the ability, I think, to accept the fantastical a little bit more and a little bit differently than adults who are now like sort of who have lost their joy, I guess. Is that what we've done?
I just have to
Yeah, please do.
We're talking about a musical of Fahrenheit 451 in the comments, and
but it was because
Erica was
she met Ray Bradbury, as did Scott.
Scott did too. Scott has The Martian signed by him, but Talia and we love musical theater. I want to know this. to know what this is. I love obscure, weird musical theater stuff. Anyway, wow, that is a thing. That's awesome.
You can make anything a musical.
That's
what
true.
Art?
You can.
That's what Will Ferrell said.
And going back to the book, speaking of like the loss of innocence, a lot of people in the comments were talking about the theater that Jim and
that's not a theater.
Well, yeah, but he mentioned it several times, described it like that. And just to clarify, we're pretty sure it's just a couple who is having sex in their bedroom and
I thought it was more than two people.
And I thought it was two, which is why I considered that it might be a theater at some point. But I think overwhelmingly people are saying that it's just a couple that haven't drawn the
they were just keeping Toms.
Yeah, and Jim was like, let's go watch. And Will's like, no, we can't. So there's a good example of like who they are, basically. Will more willing to, Jim, I think, is more willing to accept things that break his innocence.
Well,
like
he
being
wants
older.
His innocence gone.
And Will wants it to remain. And I think his dad is like that personified. It's like what that is.
Yeah.
Now, Giggles did. I thought I liked this too. The thing about the barber pole, I could relate to that also. Seeing the barber pole and being like, when does it end? It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a trick. Everything's a trick. Everything's a mean trick on your brain, in your mind's eye.
Just like this book.
This whole book is a metaphor for life, which is a metaphor for a barber pole. Life is just an eye trick.
Between them watching the sex and throwing dead cats down chimneys.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like that. But
kids.
I think I missed that part.
It was just in passing.
Yeah.
It's people that they don't like. But it might just be the time.
Really?
The cats are already dead. The cats are already dead.
And where did they find them?
In the dead cat land.
Well, there's cars. It's probably roadkill.
There are cars.
Ew.
So this whole thing takes place with this carnival as the backdrop. It's a carnival of horrors with magical powers and blind witches that ride hot air balloons, which is just.
It seems way safer than a broom. Be real. A broomstick has always struck me as like the most uncomfortable thing to try and balance yourself on while flying through the air. A hot air balloon, you could have a whole cheese plate in there and a pillow. Like that.
You could be blind and riding a hot air balloon, but she had she could smell them out and the way he attracted her was by
he knew. She had a different sense. She couldn't see, but she could tell things, tell where people were.
And he knew that
by their memories. But he also has that insight that we've already proven. Well, I haven't proven, but we've talked about.
Well, he's demonstrated it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knew how to get her to come back.
Mm-hmm. I did think his panic when he realized he was summoning her to his house was
kind of
adorable.
He was like, I should go to this other house.
Yeah.
But they got the hose and she painted the roof
with snail goo, basically.
So she marked it so that they, and so that's interesting to me because I don't clearly this carnival of people see Will and Jim as some sort of threat to their goal.
Yeah. That's I don't get what
purpose.
Yeah, what is the motivation for bringing? I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out.
So they're here for some reason. You've got Mr. Dark.
Uh-oh.
Here's, is
What's
it
that?
us?
I
Uh-oh.
think it's you.
We still here?
We can hear you, but you're frozen.
Oh,
Internet.
Okay,
Oh
here,
no!
Mr. Belvedere.
About something.
Oh
Just take
goodness.
comment.
Just yeah. Evil
Can y'all
hijinks.
hear
That's the
us?
motivation.
Is it us or them? Switch to 5G and check the stream and see if it's us or them.
We can kind of. You were cutting in and out. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's them.
Oh.
It's
You're
us.
frozen.
Yeah, you're frozen.
Can we change our?
Wait, now you're kind of unfrozen.
Are we back?
Okay, yeah. I think we're good. Kind of.
We're back now?
Everybody go like this. Whoa.
What is happening? What are y'all doing?
I'm pretty sure it's y'all.
Oh.
Yeah, because I'm watching the live stream and now I'm waving like an idiot and you're waving like a frozen robot. So I'm pretty sure it's y'all.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can
Now
hear
you're
you.
good. Now
Okay,
you're good.
things seem a little bit better
Are we back?
now.
Cryogenic Adam and Christy.
They're frozen. You're the most beautiful woman in the world.
Thank you.
Tell it because you must.
Okay, we're back. I hope.
Sorry.
That was weird. We just
assuming
took a
we're
trip
back.
to the circus. I saw myself as a younger man running through a bunch of mirrors, and
Yeah.
I was not a good runner.
I can't run now, and I am not 54.
Yeah, we're on dial-up. We had to get it with the sort of older aesthetic of the book, so we were
We're using that 1960s internet.
using that Gateway
Mhm,
2000.
mhm.
Oh,
Hey,
I
Gateway's
have
coming back.
No.
Oh, good. I like the cow boxes. Anyway,
Wait.
anywho, where were we?
I don't know.
We were
because
talking
I
about
can't- I don't get
why was this carnival?
What is the plan? What is the
Yeah,
carnival here to do?
want?
What is they?
I think it's too soon to know that.
What
Yeah.
is their?
So I was looking up the movie, and I'm not going to say what it is, just because I realized that there was a movie. And the movie, there was like a 1-sentence description of the movie, and I was like, "That could be interesting," but I'm not going to say what I saw, just in case it is some kind of spoiler.
Okay, thank you.
But it was interesting. I still don't really know, like in this, what the purpose.
You
of
know,
the...
I got the impression that Mr. Dark, once he met Jim, was super intrigued by him, like by his name, first of all, and then also by just who he was and how he was. And I almost feel like we're going to see some recruitment, and I don't know how voluntary it's going to be.
They're trying to assemble their own little
Christy
creepy
coming
Avengers.
in with a super smart analysis.
Well, and especially now that they have probably murdered Mr. Cougar. I don't know if he's coming back.
Kugel.
He wasn't dead. They reanimated him.
But he's like over 200 years old.
Yeah, he's really super old, and
And-
I got that mental picture in my mind. I don't like it.
Will said that if you turn off the electricity, he's just going to die again. And I kind of believe Will at this point.
Did everybody get where he like sort of cursed Will and Jim when
I
they
missed
brought
it
him back
completely. Actually.
Wait, what?
to life?
Apparently, when they were doing the Mr. Electro thing, there was a curse involved, and I don't remember that.
It's not.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Let me find it. I gotta find it. It was on a page, and they
was
gave
on
him
a
tickets.
page?
Oh, he said, Mr. Electro finished. The sword tapped them. A short, sad life for you both.
And Amanda pointed out that I guess Jim lied about his name, so Mr. Dark doesn't know his real name yet.
Simon or something.
But Mr. Dark is very intrigued by him.
He said, the old man's one
Huh.
wide eye blazed. I dub thee asses and fools. I dub thee Mr. Sickly and Mr. Pale. A short, sad life for you both.
Okay, I should have remembered that. Mike, now I have the song stuck in my head, so thank you. I actually really like it.
All
I'm
right.
gonna need someone to remind me of that.
Yeah. I don't know.
But
It's from the Goblet of Fire when they have the little chorus, the Harry Potter chorus people.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Something like
this one called.
But so you mentioned though that he's intrigued by Jim's name. but Jim gave him the wrong name.
Yeah,
but he knew. He smiled. He knew that he was lying.
Yeah.
Like I remember that part.
That exchange was really cute too. Like he smiled because he knew that Jim was lying, and Jim smiled as like acknowledgement of it. And I love that they were able to have that almost conversation just through smiles.
Jim Van O. It was page 110 in this book here.
So it's like the very last part of
right before part 2.
1.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Bill and Ted. There it is. Bill and Ted.
Short life.
They're like, excellent.
Ass short.
Ass short.
It says ass short on page 110 in his curse. Anyways, while he's getting electrocuted, he says ass short. Anyways,
so we've got a Shakespeare reference here.
Boy and trouble.
Theater kids.
You're a theater kid at heart, Adam.
Yeah, you are.
I was a jazz band.
You love making fun of theater kids, but on the inside, you're the theater kid.
As long as it's just on the inside.
You can just keep it locked down.
Yeah, lock it away. Yeah. What else you got on your discussion topics? I could keep going.
Jean Bowker asked, how about how different it is reading it in 2020 versus when written? Some of the reference probably don't work as well.
I didn't read it in 1960, so I don't know.
I did.
I was kind of thinking about that when I was reading it, and I don't know. I think someone said that this feels like the 1960s version of Stranger Things, and it probably did. I mean, you weren't watching as many things, and so this book probably felt like a Stranger Things at that time because, I mean, Stranger Things is dated now for us, but nostalgia's there. But I don't know. But he also doesn't describe the world over. It's not like the Night Circus where it's almost
not a different world.
Overly descriptive.
So since we keep talking about nostalgia, I had totally skipped over the quotes in the beginning of the book, and just a couple of them are "A man is in love and loves what vanishes." So yeah, there goes your youth and your innocence. Goodbye. I know not all that may be coming, but be it what it will, I'll go to it laughing. So yeah, this is definitely all about like life progressing, whether you want it to or not. Although I did tell Lucas, I was like, I'm having a really hard time with this book because I'm pretty sure it is a 329-page poem, and and I'm just having a hard time analyzing it. But that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah,
and that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just literally a really, really, really long poem. Poems are still good. I'm just, out of practice. It's been a really, really long time since I took an English class.
I agree. He just speaks entirely in metaphor almost. It's Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. That's my Harry Potter reference for people that don't get it.
Wait, you already explained it.
I know.
I do agree with Steve's comment. The door-to-door salesman is definitely more creepy. The only people that come to my door are like Amazon and DoorDash.
Yeah, and I don't even open the door. I just yell through the door. I'm like, thank you.
Contactless, thanks.
But yeah, like the metaphor is insane. I was reading to Lucas. I was like, this is a sentence from the end of chapter 30. So right before our stopping point. The balloon smile, the balloon rip was all-encompassing now as it wandered in deliriums to die in the meadows from which it had come, sinking down now beyond all the sleeping, ignorant, and unknowing houses. And I was like, that is the prettiest way to say that the balloon got a rip and then fell in the field and no one saw it. Like, oh my gosh. I don't know that I'd be able to have a conversation with him. If I ever got to meet this genius in life, like obviously I know that he's dead now, but he would have like patted me on the head and been like, "Here, sweet child, have a cookie. Go."
You're like, you remind me of Will.
I'm sorry.
So Bethany was asking about the illustrated man. She said she thought the tattoos were representative of his victims and a means of control in some way. What did y'all think of the illustrated man? Because
I thought nothing, but now I'm creeped out.
We had just finished watching The Greatest Showman, and there was one of those in The Greatest Showman, so I pictured that guy.
Oh, that's fair. And he wasn't illustrated, he was just tattooed, but all over. I mean, but in this book, like they say that his tattoos are moving. Like they're not just tattoos. They're like images that are actively moving, like Harry Potter style tattoos, basically.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
And the one that Jim saw clearly, Will asked if it was a snake. And Jim kind of dodged it. He said, like, we'll talk about it later, or I can't remember exactly what he said, but like, I really do wonder what's up with the Illustrated Man. He clearly has a lot of power.
They all do.
If he had an image of Jim, I completely missed it. So I can't wait to see.
But Mr. Dark is the Illustrated Man, right?
Yeah.
He and Mr. Cougar are like the proprietors of this carnival, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones that bring the show to town.
It's called Cougar and Dark's Pandemonium Shadow Show.
Well, there's a don't go there.
Yeah, that clearly is like not an inviting name to me.
But it's not like they were trying to be deceptive.
It's fair. It is honest advertising.
Yeah.
So yeah, the description of the carnival was interesting. Like the way they saw it being set up very magically, and like the night before, and then they went the next day, and it was just like, well, this looks like it's been around for a while.
Dude, Joe's.
Licorice fear.
Licorice is gross. I don't know what fear tastes like, but
I've
absinthe
never
seems
had
fine.
absinthe. I wouldn't.
It tastes like licorice, actually.
Yeah.
So
You have to go somewhere like that. Actually, they know how to do that.
mm-hmm.
We're not going anywhere now.
Yeah.
So one thing we haven't talked about yet is that Jim went into the mirror maze.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he came out and he's being coy about what he saw in there.
Didn't they also say he kind of changed after that a little bit? I feel
Isn't
like
that when he started being more aggressive? And they like fought some. Was
Well, he wanted. That's when
after the thing?
he decided. Well, Will lost Jim at the carnival, and then like had to pull him out of the mirror maze.
Mhm.
Like he didn't come willingly.
Well, and Jim leaving Will, I thought that was really interesting the way Ray Bradbury wrote it. He said, and then something terrible happened at like noon. Jim vanished. And like the fact that it was written that way makes me really curious.
And it was from Will's perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like
it was.
So I mean, for Will, for Mr. like, we got to play it safe, and like, you know, I have this sort of sixth sense. I just had it. Will from Stranger Things. His name is Will.
It is.
I wonder what kind of inspiration, because Will, after being taken to the Upside Down,
Spoiler alert.
Mhm.
you know, had senses.
That's true.
Well, and Brenda says, I wonder if Will's dad had a run with the carnival earlier in his life. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I really got the impression that most people in the town have had. I feel like the carnival has come to this town before with the way that the barber and the cigar shop owner both reacted to the carnival even before the carnival was there.
Well,
I
Will's
don't know.
dad
I've cried when I smelled cotton candy before.
I don't like cotton candy.
had the handbill, and he like wadded it up, and like he went so far to like jam it into the crevice of the chair. So yeah, that's not at all suspicious.
Yeah, and he also had some sort of connection or attachment or obsession when he fixated on the most beautiful woman in the world.
Mhm. Well, and also I think he's trying to protect his wife. And the fact that he doesn't know what color his hat is, I think we're seeing more of a gray hat on him in some ways.
Here's an interesting thought that I just had. You mentioned his wife, or I guess Will's mom.
Yeah.
And I noticed a difference in the way that men and women are portrayed in this book. Like men are like the sad, like longing, like they missed every opportunity and they have all the regrets. And like the women, for the most part, even Mrs. Foley, are kind of like aloof almost. Like they're like, oh yeah. Like Jim's mom, or not Jim's mom, Will's mom is like, she reminds me of oh gosh, maybe you won't get this reference, but like in the Umbrella Academy, the way that the mom was, like, you know, just kind of like, oh boy, do you want some more?
She's just warm and there, and Will really explains it great at one point, but I don't remember exactly what the words are. But his mom is just like all things good and right, I think, a little bit, and even to Will's dad, like
But
he
she
feels
also
that way.
She also seems kind of
But aloof is a good word too, like kind of in her own world.
well in her own world, but also kind of, whether it's intentional or unintentional, like blind to what's happening.
Mhm.
Like even Mrs. Foley to some extent, like, oh, this is my nephew. This is the nephew, Robert. Like she won't call him my nephew for some reason. She calls him the nephew, but she doesn't look into it. It just is.
I think she is scared to death though, because she even acknowledged that she knew that Robert framed Will and Jim with the jewels, but she was just going to go along with it because it gave her an excuse not to go to the carnival. I think the Mirror Maze in particular scared her.
She never, maybe I just didn't read it right, but she never really came across as scared to me.
I think that there is a sense of dread from her about going back to the carnival though.
Yeah, Mr. Cougar. Should have. I was like, hey, I'm your nephew. Let me live here. And she's like, okay, come on in. And now he's upstairs, like staring out the window, just living there.
Sydney said the same thing. She's like, remember moms in 1962. And I think that's important to remember. Yes, this is written by a male author writing women, but in the 60s, or technically when this came out, it was probably written in the 50s. So also that just might play a role in it.
Play all June Cleaver? Is that what's happening?
I'm not saying to that degree, but I'm just saying, you know, you can't deny that might have a slight effect on it. I don't know that I'm saying that for true, but, you know, if there's a difference in how the women are being written versus the men, it could just literally have an effect, like a side effect of what women's roles were then.
Yeah, it's possible. I just noticed that. I felt it was interesting.
So you know, I've been listening to all these, but I thought this dedication was really odd. With love to the memory of Gene Kelly, whose performances influenced and changed my life.
Wow,
Maybe they were just big buds.
I don't know. That's kind of weird. I mean, good on them.
Gene Kelly was amazing. This is
all right.
True.
So what was up with Mr. Halloway going to the library in the middle of the night? Was it he was just emotionally, mentally stressed / unhappy, etc.?
I don't know, because I feel like a lot of people in this book club, if we had access to a library 24/7, we would also be guilty of, oh, can't sleep at night, guess I'll go to the library. Don't deny it. A ton of y'all would do that.
I think that I love the description of what he does at the library. I mean, he's the janitor there, but like the way they describe like his broom sweeping the floor, and like, I don't know, it felt like, you know, it was more than just like what he was doing. It felt like there was actually like some sort of love or care attached to it, which I appreciated. I was able to pick out little things. I don't know if it's true or not, but like, you know, what? Oh, this one?
For next.
Oh gosh. Oh, what strange, wonderful clocks women are. They nest in time. They make the flesh that holds fast and binds eternity.
Children?
Oh, this is you cited that well. You get
they make the flesh that holds fast and binds eternity. Children.
Well done in the
yeah, we do. We make them kids.
And this is also in the chapter where they're talking about 3 o'clock and the differences between 3 o'clock for men and women.
Yeah.
Well, all that stuff though about how like women are always like sleeping like babies and men are awake at 3 o'clock, and I was like, a word. No. He is very much not worried about anything at 3 a.m. And I'm laying there and being like, I forgot to do laundry today, and now we're all wearing yesterday's outfits tomorrow.
Yesterday is tomorrow.
He described us.
I read that part and I was like, oh, Adam's going to enjoy this bit. It's like, it's completely us.
It's like, Chrissy's
dead. It is completely the opposite for us, though.
What is happening? I should probably read.
No, I'm like, well, I guess I'll read some news. What? What?
This is really interesting to me. You know, he does spend so much time in the library, and he knows where all the books are, and he's able to mention like 4 or 5 different authors and things. And
I love the way he describes them, though. Like, he isn't like, do you want this type of book? He like embodies the book description and how, like, do you want, he's not just like, oh, would you like to read this type of book? And they're like, we want dinosaurs or we want adventure. And he gives them, like, the catalog in which he describes the books to me was really, really lovely.
Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to ping pong between like 2 different like conversations, but going back to the women as clocks thing, that's also the chapter where he was thinking about like how Will isn't really his, not really, and that his wife is going to go on because she has Will, and that's her son, but it's his son too, but not really. And I thought that was so interesting, and how all men kind of feel that way. Like, I guess talking about the relationship a mother has with her children.
But it was also like in how like he felt his time and his like impact was so finite. Like he doesn't have that legacy that his wife or Will's mom has, because Will's mom made Will and etc. and will pass that down. Like he felt like his time was very short and he did not have that.
And I don't know if Talia, you just said that or if someone else, but like that is really not typical of how men usually feel, especially when they have sons. Or at least that's what my understanding from historical fiction is.
No, we just watched Pride and Prejudice. Yeah.
The BBC version. And he didn't watch it. I watched it.
I listened to it while
he listened to half of the last episode. So I don't want to hear it. And he's been talking like Mr. Darcy for the whole time. So actually it's a win-win.
Mr. is his first name. Anyway, we're over the hour mark here. So we want to like say how we feel and then make some announcements or whatever.
Yeah.
I will say like always, this has helped me a lot because honestly, before the discussion, I was like, obviously I'm going to finish the book because I don't have a choice. It is my job as part of being one of the main instigators of this book club. I must read the book whether I want to or not. But I was like, it's going to be homework. Like, I'm not excited. Mostly just because I'm really, really confused. But these discussions, like, I'm so thankful for these discussions because now I do feel like I have a much, much better grasp. Dan, I have a much, much better grasp of the first half. And now not only am I more determined to read the second half, but I feel like I have a much better grasp of the material. And I'm not really dreading it anymore. So thank you for that. Really, like I needed that very much. This has helped me greatly.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still confused. I still don't understand a lot of things that I've already read, but I feel like I have a little bit more of continuity and a story arc and what's going on now. So yeah, I'm digging the vibe though. It's not too scary for me, but it's got enough like creepy what's gonna happen for this month.
Yeah, we got lots of people saying all right, this discussion has helped, and I think it has.
But I'm also like, I agree. Sarah saying that she's finding it confusing and hard to follow. Like, honestly, that, like, same girl, same. So, like, know that you're not alone. And that's one of my favorite things is every single month we read, this is drastically different than the book that we read last month. But, like, every book that we read is, and that was so different from the book before that, is my favorite thing about this discussion is we always have people who are like dipping out because they're like, this book's not for me. And then we have some other ones that are like, oh my gosh, this is now my new favorite. And that all of that together is what makes this so great.
Yeah. Well, and I clearly am loving this book. I just really, really like it. And I can't wait to keep reading. And if you have not listened to The Funeral Dirge backwards, you can find it on YouTube. It's there. It's very easy to find, and it is worth it. It's really interesting and creepy, and
it's terrifying.
Thought it was a really good compliment to this book.
Like I said, this book has been difficult for me to read, but it's been fun to talk about after the fact. And like I think that like the themes are now coming out. They're bubbling up to the top, now that we've had a few action pieces here, and like we know sort of what the carnival folks are capable of, and what they're capable of doing to the people that go to it. This book has done a good job at like it's sort of making me feel a certain way. And I even just thinking about the book, I feel just a little off. Like I feel there's just something not quite right, and it's unsettling, which is a good thing to feel at this time of year. Yeah, this discussion has definitely helped me because it helps like sort of put thoughts into words that I can understand. This is my first Ray Bradbury book.
Oh, you should.
I've not read Fahrenheit 451
It's
or
really
any of the
good.
short stories.
We have it.
Martian Chronicles. I think you have Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah, I read Fahrenheit 451 recently, and it was really good.
I want to hear the musical.
But yeah, I'm for my first Ray Bradbury book, I'm into it, and it's not scary, but it's definitely like unnerving enough to make me feel like I'm this is Scott McClellan's first. As a sixth grader, you got in early.
We're not all as smart as you, Scott.
Scott read the Lord of the Rings trilogy in kindergarten, so I mean it's cool.
Okay, Scott's like legit. For those of you who don't know, he's an English teacher.
But yeah, like as I think we can all be put at ease that this isn't a scary book.
Yeah.
Unless the themes of growing older and losing your innocence are scary, in which they are.
It's creepy.
Yeah,
it's scary.
Yeah, unnerving. This is the word that I used with Christy earlier. Okay, I will.
Hey, cat. Wow.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the second half of the book, and I can't wait to talk about it with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are announcements?
We got some announcements.
Oh, do we?
Well,
Christy,
can I start?
Yes.
We have an interesting situation for December, and I didn't run this by you guys, but
what?
You're on your own. She's flying solo.
No, okay. So I actually really want y'all's opinion, and we'll put a poll in the group later. But December is crazy. It's holidays, and last year we did a graphic novel. We did the Umbrella Academy book 1. But we got a couple of different ways we can go with this. We can do another graphic novel. We can do a book that's under 250 pages, which I usually don't even put as options for, literally wasted, but it could be a good time to do it. Or we could do a really long book and do it over December and January. Because, science fiction and fantasy, there's some awesome books over 500 pages that we just can't get to because it's too much of a commitment for most people to read in a month. So we're going to do a poll about that later, but put in the comments if you have any insight or reaction to that in general, because I'm really curious what you guys want to do.
Oh, here's so chime in on that, please. We want to know what y'all want to do in December. But yes, just to clarify, this is not a joke. We are reading Old Man's War in November. Whatever form you can get, we're reading it. It's happening.
I'm not gonna say this is really cute little hardback version. Look how cute it is. It's like perfect, like little hand size. But I will say, just for funsies, and because Adam's super scary right now, I actually did put 3 versions of this in our Amazon store. I put the hardback version, the hardcover version, the paperback, and the mass market paperback. They're all on the list for book of the month. So technically, there's 3 versions. So you can just, and we'll have the announcement video will be out soon, and that will tell you the dates of the discussions and what the midway point is and all that good stuff as per our usual. And I'm sorry I said that instead of usual. But yeah, no, this is like the hardcover version, and it's like this super cute. It's like a tiny, tiny little hardback. I like it.
So we've got people. Oh, you go.
No, I was just saying we're getting people saying long book over 2 months.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, and that's to say we can all get together. Like we could have a little holiday soiree online.
Yeah, like,
and
we're
we
still
could do
gonna-
adventures in reading. And
We're still gonna do live streams, like no matter what. I know the holidays,
They're
are
crazy.
busy and stuff, but
but you're not going anywhere.
But we're just gonna restructure
Too
how.
soon.
Stop.
Sorry.
We're just gonna restructure how the discussions are done. But yeah, so Christy will put up a poll, and those will be the 3 options. And you didn't spring that on us. We had talked about that before, so it'll be.
I couldn't
am I
remember.
right? No, we talked about it. So it'll either be graphic novel, short book for just December, or long book for December and January.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Also,
cool,
I
cool,
think
cool.
this is also something different. But I want to throw this out there now that we're just like spitballing. I don't know how we would implement this, but I think it would be fun if we did sort of like if somehow we were able to, and I'm not saying we're gonna, I'm just, want to get some feedback. If we were somehow able to do like a literarily wasted Secret Santa or something like that, where we did like a, everybody sort of signs up and then we assign who your Secret Santa is.
It'd be cool.
We do like a book
Book swap.
Book swap,
Um,
yeah.
like a book swap.
And someone asked, can we recommend a long book? If we decide on that, if you guys vote for that option, I will definitely be getting you to recommend some stuff. There will be a post about it.
So yeah, if we did a long book, we would do like one book discussion in December and January, but the other discussion that we would be having would be some other fun
Yeah, we
get
would
together or
do one discussion in December and then either 1 or 2 discussions in January, depending on
How
what we
long it
feel
is.
like.
But we could do other live streams if y'all
Yeah.
wanted to. They would just be like holiday hangout kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
well, everybody's for Secret Santa. Now we just gotta figure out how we can do it.
Yeah, and if anyone that's done that with a larger group has any feedback, I know
Yeah, we gotta
there's
figure that
all
out.
sorts of like video game swaps and all sorts of
Is it
stuff
the
like
Dutch
that.
holiday? No. Isn't there?
What?
There's a
Oh, yeah, people
the holiday where
posted-
you just swap books and it's
Well, you
like-
give a book on Christmas Eve and then you stay up all night on Christmas Eve reading the book.
and
Is that what
it's
you're talking about?
Flurgen book
Nope.
blurg holiday.
Nope.
I don't know.
No.
Jola
So sorry for
Bach
everyone I
Swan
just offended.
in Iceland.
Like that's basically what I just said.
But yeah, so we'll figure out a way to do that. Stay tuned. I think it'd be fun for us to do. So December will be fun. But before December, Old
Yikes.
Man's War.
Stop, calm down.
And before Old Man's War, we've got this
Or an
guy,
old man.
the Train of Terror.
Look how creepy that dude. My
Yeah.
finger's on the right side of the book, all the way in there.
Freddy Krueger.
Look at his
Yeah.
face.
So next Wednesday night, this same time, next Wednesday, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Join us for Adventures in
and
Reading,
reading.
and we're gonna get spooky, keep this theme going,
We're
and
getting spooky.
it's no ordinary train car.
It's a spooky train car.
If you dare to ride. So so next Wednesday, and who knows, we may have some other exciting news coming up. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
vague about anything, but
That wasn't vague. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got some stuff coming up. You're going to want to stay tuned to the Literarily Wasted Lounge and our Literarily Wasted pages and all the fun stuff because we're gonna get ramped up here in November or so.
and if we had some people asking about bookmarks, so if you want to
Oh yeah.
get one of these sweet bookmarks,
You held it in 7 ways and they were all
well, I
wrong.
wanted them to all see it.
Look, here's the front of the bookmark. And then here's the back of the bookmark. It's our faces. Haha, you have to look at our faces some more. Sorry.
Rude.
But it's great because
Yes.
it keeps, your place.
So you can go to literarylywasted.club, just like it says there, and donate anything over $1. Doesn't have to be anything exorbitant.
It doesn't even have to technically be over $1. It could be
It
$1.
could be $1, and we'll send you 2. So the idea is you keep one and you tell someone else that, hey, I'm in a cool book club and you should come hang out with us.
Or you read 2 books at the same time.
That's true.
Yeah, that's probably more like what they're going to do.
I was about to say, we don't judge.
It's fine.
Yeah,
I do
so fun stuff coming up. Thank you all again so much for being here. We love you all, and thanks for helping us through this book. This is why we're all here. We're not here to just read stuff in our comfort zone. We're here to explore and have new experiences, but have them together. So happy October, everybody. Keep it spooky,
Keep it spooky.
and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
In a week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.